Hey, this is AJ. Welcome back to the Handyman process. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how my month of April has gone so far. So today is April 21st, and I thought I would just kind of do a recap of the jobs that I've had so far this month, starting from the lowest paying job up to the highest paying job. I'll try to touch on different aspects of the job. Why did I charge what I charge? How did I get the job? Things of that nature. I'm sure I'll probably forget a few things. So if you have specific questions about any of the jobs that I go over, feel free to drop a comment down below and I'll address that. But the purpose of this video is to show other handymen that are out there what my numbers look like. This is straight up my numbers. This is what they are. This is what I'm making. I'm hoping to make a little bit more going forward. I've had a lot of different things going on the last couple of weeks or so. If you've been following my channel, you know I recently went full-time. So as part of that, I've been juggling a few things. But let's go ahead and we'll jump right into it. And as I go through it, I'll try to put up some pictures and other things as I edit the video to kind of give a little bit more context of what's going on. So again, starting from the lowest job up to the highest paying job is the flow that I'm going to go with here. All right, so the first job was just a simple quarter round install. I had done some trim work for this client previously. The way that she had found me is through Facebook a while back, and I've been doing a lot of work for her. And the arrangement I have with her is she likes to pay me by the hour. She likes to pay cash. So we have an arrangement that it's $100 an hour because she just wants me to work on things kind of on an ongoing basis. She had some flood damage in the house, and she's basically slowly, as she gets money, taking care of it. So we have this arrangement, $100 an hour. She basically wanted me to come over and just knock out the quarter round. So that was a 1 hour job. I was there 1 hour. It was $100, pretty easy. And then I was on to the next one. So the next job was cabinet hardware installation, which is my favorite job. This client had found me Facebook or Nextdoor. I can't remember exactly, but I had done a fence repair for her about 3 weeks prior. And then after the fence work was done, she was thrilled with that. And this is a tip for handymen out there. When you're working in somebody's house, always ask them, are there any other issues you have, any other problems or concerns? So she's like, I probably have a few things. And then when we went into the kitchen, I said, I noticed you don't have cabinet hardware. She's like, do you do that? I was like, yeah, it's actually my favorite job. So I ended up doing that job. It wasn't a whole lot of handles. It was maybe like 12 handles. It was real small kitchen. But I ended up charging $125 for that, again, paid in cash. And then she's got me on the hook to do a few more jobs. Moving down the line, the next job was hanging one picture over a fireplace into limestone. So this was a previous client. The client had found me on Facebook a while back. I had done some exterior work for her, some light fixtures. And then she reached out and said, hey, I don't really feel comfortable hanging this one picture because it's in stone. Can you come out? And I was like, yeah. I was like, it's going to be quick. I'm going to be in and out of there in like 10 minutes, but it's going to be my minimum charge of $125. She said, sure, no problem. So I went over there, knocked that out, put a Tapcon in there, and it wasn't a heavy painting. Hung that up. That was a done deal. That job was a little further from my house. That was about 18 minutes. These other two jobs are within 10 minutes of my house. Moving down the line, a job I just got back from today, a client had reached out. This was a new client who had found me on Google. So he Googled handyman near me. I popped up and he said he had two things. He had a front door that needed to be adjusted because they had taken the doors off to move some furniture inside. And then he had a shower valve that was having some issues and some problems. So I had some feelings about this job because the communication, I was texting him, he wasn't texting me back. I asked him for pictures, he never sent me pictures, and it's usually like a red flag to me. And for the last several days, I'm like, I hope this isn't like a bait and switch kind of job. But I got over there, and what happened is he bent the storm door, bringing the furniture in, and then he took off the main door to get the furniture in to include the hinges. And when he put them back on, he just screwed it all up. So I basically had to bend back the storm door hinges, get them, he stripped them all out, right? So I had to do a little bit of cuts there and get that to go back in. And then for the main door, I had to the hinges were all out of alignment. They weren't in the proper slot. So took care of that. That was about maybe 35, 40 minutes or so. Then I went upstairs to take a look at the shower valve, and I asked him what was going on. And he showed me, he's like, yeah, I just put this new thing on and it's not working. Um, and I said, it's probably the cartridge behind the scenes. And I don't do cartridges anymore, just because I ran into two problems where they broke on me, and it's just not worth the hassle. I just send them out to my plumber. So after I saw that, I said, okay, I tell you what, I'm not going to take care of that. I originally quoted $185 to do both, but I ended up charging him $125, and he ended up tipping me $10 or so. So knocked that one out, and then I was back home fairly quick. That one was 6 minutes from my house. Again, good location. Okay, next one is reattaching door trim on the side of a sliding door. So this was another Google one, right? Googled Handyman near me. So the reason I know they're Google is when they fill out my form on my website, I ask, how did you hear about me, right? So he said Google. And then when I'm at the house, after I build a little bit of rapport with them, because I'm always chatting, talking to them, trying to build up that rapport a little bit, I said, hey, how did you find me? I started searching Handyman, and Handyman near me popped up, and then I scrolled down, I saw you were the #1 guy. I'm like, okay, great. So it's confirming some of the work that I'm doing. But he sent me a picture of just like one piece of wood trim that was off from the sliding glass door. I was like, so I texted him back. I said, so it's just this trim that needs to go back up? Yeah. I don't know what to use to put it back up. So again, a little bit of red flags. I was like, nah, it can't just be a piece of trim off, right? So I get over there, and it's literally a piece of trim from the side of the house that came off. The dog had grabbed it with his teeth and kind of pulled it off. And the issue was whoever installed it just used finish nails. They put like 5 finish nails into it, and actually some of it like hit the hardy board and didn't go past the hardy board. So it was bad to begin with. So I told him, I said, yeah, they shouldn't have installed it this way. I'm gonna put some proper screws in there and fill it back in. And he's like, oh, could you do all the boards? I'll pay you extra. And I already quoted him $125. I said, no, don't worry. It's the least I can do. I'll go ahead. I'll do all the trim boards. So I did that. I did all the 3 boards. I think I was like 10 screws, maybe 10 screws in and out, ladder, drill, maybe 12, 15 minutes, another 20 minutes with chit chat and talking. Then he asked me to go upstairs, take a look at something again. I asked, or you have any issues? You have any problems? And he showed me a couple of things. It was plumbing work. I recommended it to my plumber. So I charged him $125 for that. He ended up giving me a $25 tip. And this blows my mind sometimes. I was literally there 30 minutes, maybe tops, right? $125. This one was 8 minutes from my house, and he gave me a $25 tip. So I'll take it. I don't understand it, but I'll take it. And when people tip me, what I do is I write back to them. This is my little tip, I guess, is my services don't require tips, but tips are greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. And that's just my standard response whenever that comes through. Okay, so that was done. Then I had another customer who is a referral from a consistent customer of mine. I had done actually one job for her prior. She reached back out, said, I have 3 light fixtures, 2 by the garage, 1 by the front door, needs to be swapped out. I already have the light fixtures. Can you go ahead and do it? And I said, sure, $175. I'll knock that out for you. So I went over there. This one was 4 minutes from my house. 4 minutes to my house. Over there, $175. Actually, I gave them a discount on this one. I told them $175 or $150 cash because it was so close. If I don't know somebody, light fixtures like $85 a piece. $125 usually for the first one, $85 a piece for additional ones. But I know I'm going to get a lot of work from this client, so I didn't want to push it. $175 was reasonable. $150 cash, it worked out fine as well. So that was that job. Then going down the line, I had another customer that I had, sometimes I get these big long lists, right? Especially when people are changing houses. So I had done a huge long list for this client. And prior to that, I had a few other jobs. She had found me on Facebook and is one of my most vocal supporters in the community. Whenever somebody's looking for a handyman, she's always chiming in. So I keep her very happy. But she had a house I had done this huge list on. And one of the things I did on the list was she said, hey, when it rains, there's water that comes out of the bottom of the seam here in the gutter. So I got up there, looked at the gutter. I'm like, okay, I cleaned it up. I filled it in with some silicone and some sealant. But it doesn't rain here a lot, right? So I didn't, I haven't followed back up. And then she texted me a picture. She's like, hey, that thing you fixed, it's still dripping. So I said, okay, let me go over right now while it's raining and I'll go ahead and take a look at it. So I get over there and she told me in text that it was dripping from the bottom. But when I got there, I realized it was actually coming out of the top and it was just kind of making its way to the bottom and dripping out. And what the issue was is there was a long span, probably like 50 feet or so of gutter that was supposed to be leaning that way. And it was leaning into this corner. So I told her, I said, you have two options here. I could try to re-level and re-slope your entire gutter to put it back down that way, or I could just put a downspout here and be done with it. And she said, what's the difference? I said, well, one, if I re-level the whole gutter, it's going to be, I forget the number was. If I just rebuild a downspout right here, what did I charge? $175. She said, oh, yeah, let's do the $175. Just make it look nice because I'm trying to sell the house. So that was pretty easy. That was a done deal. It actually led to another job for the same exact price, $175, at her dad's house, which is just down the street. Again, another 5 minutes from my house. In this particular case, this is a separate job, but similar stuff. In this case, he had several downspouts that were just missing, like some of the bottom pieces and some of the brackets that hold the downspout to the wall had come off. So I just gone around, got a few pieces, and basically resecured everything. Again, $175 for that one. On to the next job. This one I actually did an in-person estimate visit for, because I traded some pictures back and forth and it wasn't completely clear what this gentleman was looking for. I knew he had some fence damage. He had a shared fence, so him and his neighbor were trying to share the cost of repairing this. So I went over to the house and he showed me the fence. So one thing was just one of the panels was kind of falling out. You'll see in the pictures. So that was one issue. But then he said that his neighbor on the other side of the fence didn't like the way the fence looked, like, because it was all kind of sagging in the back. So he said, hey, she wants all like straight pieces of wood put in there. She doesn't want to see those bows anymore. I was like, okay, that's going to be a little pricey for that one. I said, I'll give you option prices, option for everything or option for just doing this small job. So I gave them the two options. They ended up choosing option number one, which was just fixing the fence panel. So I think it was just one 2x4 by 12. I cut the size, put a new brace in, did a couple of Simpson strong ties to kind of tie everything together and put some fence boards up. What a lot of people in my area are looking for is kind of a temp fix on fences to hold them over for a few years until they get to a full fence install. So that's what I did in this particular case. That was $225. He tipped me as well. I can't remember exactly what he tipped me, but in the picture here, I'll put it up there, what he tipped me on that one. Moving down the line, I had another job. This one was a little further away. This one was about 12-15 minutes from my house. Previous client, she had found me on Nextdoor. She had the previous job I had done for her was adjusting locking mechanisms on a pantry door and installing a little cat door. So when I installed this cat door, she told me, she said, I guess you have to measure the belly height, right? So she measured the belly height of the cat. She said, the door needs to be at this height, right? Okay, I put it in exactly where she asked me to put it in, and it was a small door. Well, apparently this cat got a little fatter, and he's having problems getting up, right? So now the door was too much of a challenge for this cat. And what this was kind of an escape room for the cat, because they were getting a dog and they needed the cat to be able to go into the laundry room to escape from the dog. Anyway, long story short, she wanted the new cat door installed. So I went over there, cut the hole out a little bit bigger to put the new cat door in for that one. I had to hang one large picture, no big deal, and then install 2 toilet paper holders. She had bought like some cheap junky toilet paper holders, and I hate when I see this like Wayfair stuff that people buy, and you'll see this if you're running a handyman business. People will buy some cheap stuff, and sometimes they pay a lot of money for it, but it's just the cheapest stuff. And I don't want to get into the business of like making toilet paper holders and selling them, but I can make these things way cheaper and way better than some of the stuff that's out there. Actually, maybe that's an idea. Maybe I'll make some custom toilet paper holders. But anyway, sidetrack. I installed these things. I warned her that, hey, there's like little tiny screws holding this thing together, and I don't know how it's going to stay, but it is what it is. Anyway, for that job, I originally estimated 275, but it took me a total of, I want to say, like 45 minutes for everything. I was in and out of there pretty quick. So I gave her a little bit of money off. I ended up charging 225 for that, which is still pretty decent. And then she was happy, and then I was out the door. Next job, moving down the line, was another 225 job. This is a Facebook lead, somebody I've done four or five jobs for already. He was having his countertops resurfaced, so he asked me to come in and remove the kitchen sink so that the countertop guy can kind of do his thing. So I had to remove the countertop. I had to install a smoke detector. It was just basically 2 screws into the ceiling for that, and then replace a floodlight with a ring light. That was 225 total for that. No tip on that one because he's again loyal customer, has been doing stuff for a while. And then I got a couple more jobs before I get to my big dollar jobs. And if you may be wondering as I'm going through this list, was like, is that the only thing you did every day? And a lot of these jobs, I did 2 or 3 of these jobs in a day. So I might have done two or three $225 jobs in a day, or $175 or $125. I try to stack them, right? And when the calls come in and I'm building out my schedule, I'll generally put the smaller jobs, like I'll start at 9 o'clock in the morning or even 8:30 if I can, and I'll just start stacking them, right? I know, okay, I want to have a little bit of wiggle room between this job in case it goes long in the other one. So I might stack, usually like 4 is the limit, 4 or 5 is the limit of those types of jobs that I'll stack. Because what I'll do is I'll start to spread them out a little bit over the week. And then as more jobs start to come in, then I'll just kind of fill in some of the holes and the gaps in my schedule. But moving down the line, I had another move out checklist from another customer who found me on Facebook. I did jobs for a year and a half ago, and she's just been stalking me on Facebook and ready to reach back out again. So she reached back out because she was getting ready to put her house in the market. So the week before, I had done a huge list for her, and then she asked me to come back and do a few more things. So in this particular case, I had to put some hinges on a little cabinet door in the bathroom. I had to recaulk around the kitchen countertop. I had to paint inside a small, tiny, like a little HVAC closet. Replace a vent cover in the laundry room, and remove something like a camera from over the garage. That was about 2:45. That was 7-8 minutes from my house. That job took me, I want to say, maybe an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes. Not that big of a deal. Moving down the line, new customer had found me on Facebook, I believe. Cabinet hardware install. Very funny, very German lady, married to a military guy, very, very German, right? Very precise. So, we got in there, we started talking, and she started talking about it, like her standards, and the reason she hired me. I saw your video and you do stuff and I like what you do. So that was kind of funny to hear that, but she was very demanding, right? In a good way. But when you're dealing with clients, this is part of the handyman gig, right? You got to know who you're dealing with and what's important to them. And she mentioned several times, I saw the way you're cleaning up when you're doing things, and that's why I hired you. So I said to myself, okay, well, I do this job. Like, I told her, I walked her through my process. This is what I do. And in this particular case, when I'm installing cabinet hardware, what I'll do is I'll go through and I'm going to drill all the holes first. And I'm going to have a cardboard box underneath me to catch 90% of the sawdust that comes out. Then after I'm done with that, I'm going to wipe down your cabinets and I'm going to start, after everything's kind of wiped down, all the holes are drilled, I'm going to go through, I'm going to screw in all the hardware. And then the final step is any sawdust that I didn't catch in the boxes, I'm going to kind of vacuum up. But I knew she was, I could see her in other rooms, like eyeballing me a little bit. So as I was going through that, I was wiping down the counters. Broke my normal process a little bit. I was cleaning up simultaneously while I was going, even though it kept a little bit more time because I knew that was important to her. And she's like, "I watched you. I saw what you were so clean and so neat." Like that was pretty cool. Anyway, sidetracked. How many pieces did I put in? That was 37 pieces of cabinet hardware. Normally, I'll charge $8 to $10 for these, and I give people a discount if it's cash. So in this particular case, I gave her a cash discount, and then she asked me if there was a military discount, and I gave her a military discount as well. So it ended up being $300. I was there an hour and a half, maybe, and that led to me being booked for a few follow-up jobs coming up in a few weeks. So that was a great new customer, great new client. She also grabbed 10 of my business cards, like, "I'm going to all my neighbors. You're all going to have your card." Great, All right, so moving on to my next job, which I did this past Saturday. This is one of my clients I have a relationship with, $100 hour kind of pre-negotiated deal, right? She just calls me up, "Hey, I need you to come over to the house. This is what I need you to do." And I should know by now, she's a collector, right? She collects his pictures and paintings and all that stuff. So she said, "Hey, I have a bunch of things for you to hang up on the wall." And normally you hear a bunch of things, okay, maybe like 15 things. It ended up being like 50, 60 different things all over the house, all in different orientations, all over the place, right? So um, I charged $350, but I made a mistake because I was actually there 4 hours, actually 4.5 hours, and I should have charged $450, but I wasn't prepared to be there for 4.5 hours. I thought I was going to be there like 2 hours. So basically, my brain had stopped working. I was just in work mode. Got done, finished the thing. But anyway, I know she's going to call me back, so it's no big deal, right? $350 for that job. That was great. She's going to call me back. She's already she's like travel. Like she leaves the country, then comes back and gives me a list of things. A great client to have. All right, moving down the line, another cabinet hardware install. This was 45 pieces. Again, this was similar, where I would normally charge $9 to $10, but I had lowered the price in this case down to $380. I think this was a cash discount. He paid in cash. Again, great job. My favorite job. I love it. $380. I was there maybe. This one was a little bit of this was about 20 minutes from my house, which is far from me. So 40-minute round trip, plus I was there probably 2 hours and 10 minutes, I would say. Great job, $380. I was happy as could be. So that was the second highest job I've had this month. And then the final most paying job that I've had so far this month. This month, or this next 2 weeks, I got a couple $1,000s of jobs booked up. So it's getting better and better. But from April 1st to today, the highest paying job I had, a single paying job, which ended up being about 8.5 hours. I charged $885, and there's a long list of stuff. I'll put the list here up there. But the way that I like to do this is get this list and then kind of work through it. Be ready before I get there, have all the supplies I need, kind of work through the list. Anyway, that totaled out to, for this month so far, a gross of $4,122. My cost of goods sold, all the supplies I had to buy, was about $939. So gross profit